While most students went home for fall break this past weekend, Seton Hall student-athletes were grinding hard in a weekend full of action and preparing for another weekend of jam-packed competition. Hello, Seton Hall faithful, I'm Matt Lamb. On this episode of Hall Talk, my panel and I will break down a bevy of Seton Hall sports. First, we'll start with volleyball. The Pirates defeated Villanova Wednesday night and now have won 4 of their last 5 matches. They face St. John's on Saturday at historic Walsh Gym. What can they do to stay hot? Next, we'll take a look at both soccer squads. The men have taken vast strides, while the women still have work to do. We'll give each team a performance grade and discuss what each team can do to ensure success on Saturday. We'll run through the past performance from both of the cross-country squads and how they've torched the competition to this point. With the Metro Championships this weekend, who will step up for the Pirates? My panel will also have a surprise for you with hot takes for both the men's and women's basketball team with Big East Media Day next week. We've got a big show for you tonight, folks. Stick around. This is Hall Talk. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Hall Talk. I'm Matt Lamb. I'm joined alongside by my panel today, JP Proulx and Kevin Huebler. Guys, great to be back again.
It's good to be here.
It's absolutely great to be here. Back from fall break. Can't wait.
Everyone had a nice time to relax over the past couple days, but now we're here for a jam-packed show tonight, so let's get right to it. We'll start with volleyball. Seton Hall Pirates defeated Villanova on Wednesday night, 3-1, and Villanova coming into this matchup had won 4 straight, all in straight sets. And the Pirates were able to just come out of the gate red hot and were able to carry that momentum for the rest of the game. Kevin, I'll start with you. Team looked great last night. What did you see from them?
Well, you know, Matt, I think I saw the same exact thing that I saw when they took on Providence after that Creighton sweep. It was just the intensity that came out with. The team does like to play from behind, I've noticed. They were down last night in both sets. They were down against Providence in the first 2 sets as well. You know, this team just kind of, they like to fight back. They don't really give in when they're down. But also you saw last night against Villanova, a tough team. Providence was a tough team when they beat them. You kind of saw the same exact effort last night against a tough Villanova team, especially from Thielen and Barnes, with 17 kills and 16 respectively.
Yeah, they've certainly pulled their weight so far. This team certainly wouldn't be the same without Abby Thielen, Trey Barnes, grad transfer, another great addition. JP, the Pirates are now 11-10, 5-3 in the Big East. They were projected to finish 7th in the conference, and they continue to exceed expectations. What did you see from them on Wednesday night?
What I saw was a team that is totally different from when they had that losing streak there in the middle of the season. Now they've won 4 of 5 games, which is very big in Big East play. Right now they're sitting at 3rd in the conference, which is very, very important going into the tournament time because we're getting a little close there. Got to start thinking about positioning. 3rd place is perfect where you want to be.
Yeah, a little less than a month left of Big East action before that 4-team playoff starts, and Seton Hall really trying to be that team. Kevin, just thoughts going forward now as they play St. John's on Saturday. The Johnnies are around the similar stage as the Hall, 11-12, 3-5 in the Big East. What do you think they need to do to execute and get that win at home?
Well, you know, just like it was last night, just like it was when they took on Providence last week, it's so important for them to win at home. If you think about the way this team has played, last year they only lost 3 matches at home all year long. They've lost 2 so far, so you got to make sure they don't want to fall into that slide again where they lose more than 1 at home in the next couple weeks. But especially against a rival like St. John's, they got to make sure they go out and they get that win. That'll give them that momentum, I think, to make sure that they do stay in that upper tier to be able to make the Big East tournament.
Yeah, the Pirates are 5-2 so far at Walsh Gymnasium. Coach Ali Eager has stressed the importance of winning at home. And JP, they've done that for the most part. What do they need to do to get that win at home again on Saturday?
To continue to get wins at home, they need to play. Well, they played well from behind, but getting leads out early, especially if you win that first set, then they are very, very solid.
It certainly doesn't hurt.
No, of course not. You don't want to lose the first set, of course. But with the wins, keep winning sets, they're going to keep winning games, and I believe they'll come out on top on the Johnnies.
Yeah, matchup is at 7 o'clock at Walsh Gymnasium Saturday night. Pirates looking to win their 3rd straight matchup. So we'll be heading now to soccer on the pitch where it's been really a roller coaster for both teams this season. Women have really not gotten off that starting edge, but the men have done really well in the past couple of games. We'll start with the women's team, and we'll start with you, Kevin. They drew Creighton, a game they should have won, but were able to fight back with that late goal by Julia Sturpey on the PK. Gives this team a performance grade so far this season?
You know, this team, it's hard to call it a roller coaster season for this team just because they haven't really had the ups that they've necessarily needed. Again, it's a young team, so when you think about this team, I can't give them less than a D+, because again, It's a young team. I thought they were going to be better. I certainly did,
Right.
just with the talent they were bringing in their recruiting class. But when you look at the results they've had, 7 goals in 14 games or 15 games, excuse me, that's not going to get it done. I think they do need to try and find some more scoring outside of Sturpey, outside of Cassie Harrigan. Those are the only 2 people on the team with multiple goals. They need to start trying to get that ball into the box a little bit more.
JP, similarly, what would you give this Pirates squad a grade so far, halfway through Big East play?
I'll be a little under you. I'll give them a D. I mean, there is something to not winning a game all year, but they are not last place in the conference, so that's
a plus.
That is a plus. For not winning a game and not being in last place, that's kind of important. Ties come in handy.
And they certainly have them 0-8-5 so far in the season. The Pirates were projected to finish 10th in the conference, so for that, I'm going to give you a little generous, give them a C- right now. They do have some work to do, of course, but we've seen that this team has certainly had the ability to try and win some games. Hasn't happened yet, but looking to do so soon with the match coming up on Saturday. So we'll head over to the men's side now, where the Pirates have seen a bit of unheralded success so far this season. 5 wins now, which is as many as they had all of last season. 3-2 in Big East play. I mean, this team, or 2-2 in Big East play, rather, trying to go 3-2 against Providence on Saturday. And this team, I think, certainly has potential. Kevin, give them a grade this part of the season.
Well, I think you got to look at you got to kind of break this season down into 2 tiers for this team. You got to look at it also the fact that the last 3 games I would give them an A for the last 3 games, especially that Creighton game, shutting out a ranked team at the time in Creighton. But overall, I would give them a B+, only because they did have that little slip up midway through the season, in the middle of the non-conference season, almost at the end of non-conference season before that St. John's conference opener. But for the most part, this team has been right there. You got Lucas Pangonis, who's gotten back-to-back Big East Defensive Player of the Week. Andres Arcilla has gotten Big East Offensive Player of the Week honor. It's certainly, there's a lot of promise to this team right now.
It was a late goal from Pangonis that certainly capped that 2-1 victory over DePaul last weekend. Really propelled the Pirates squad. JP, give this team a performance grade so far throughout the season.
I'm going to give him an A-. And the reason I'm giving it here is I had very low expectations. I think I'm probably not the biggest fan over there at the soccer field. But as of right now, they are in the hunt and currently in a spot for the Big East tournament. I wouldn't have said they'd come anywhere near the Big East tournament to start the year. So right now they're at an A-. They get another win against Providence. They're going to keep getting a higher and higher grade. They make the tournament. That's an A. They've really overshot where they're supposed to be finishing.
They certainly have exceeded expectations. 0 wins in 2015, 5 last season, and they're already at 5 this year. The sky is the limit for this team at this point. I'm going to give them the same grade, A- to this point, just because of the almost unimaginable production they've had so far this season. Expectations on my end, I think, are also really low. So just seeing them, outperform that, and really anywhere but up is the point to go for this Pirates team, and certainly have been able to do that so far. So just quickly, they have a chance to be above 500 in the Big East if they defeat Providence on Saturday. What do you guys think needs to be a key? We'll start with you, JP, first, for defeating Providence.
Well, the big key I have is keep feeding the ball to Arcilla. He's your best player, keep giving him the ball. He'll make good things happen. That's just what he does.
Yeah, Pirates are at 5-6-1 so far in the regular season. Providence, scrappy team, but they're 2-7-2. Kevin, what do you think they have to offer on Saturday?
Providence sitting in that bottom last place in the Big East. So I think for Seton Hall, it's going to be one of those things where, like JP said, get the ball to Arcilla. He basically took the ball away from 5 defenders the other day, 2 including on his own team when he scored the game-tying goal against Providence. So it's certainly going to be something this past weekend, taking on Providence this weekend. But it's certainly going to be something where they just need to get the ball to Arcilla and make sure he can facilitate.
Yeah, certainly have been able to do that so far this season. Looking to continue to do that more often with the rest of the Big East play going on. We'll head over to cross country now, and cross country is in the sport that we discuss so much on this show, but you cannot ignore the performances the Pirates have had this season so far on the track. Great performance at UDEL, each team picking up a team win. Jared Moser and Christian Rutowski both winning individual races there. Just thoughts on the race last weekend at UDEL.
Well, I think when you look at the way this cross-country team is, they're probably the best cross-country team we've seen at Seton Hall in a very long time. Probably going to be one of the better teams to come over the next couple years as well. I mean, you think about Jared Moser, he's only a junior, but he's got a couple first-place finishes. Christiana Rakowski, she's graduating, but, she's won 4 out of the 5 as an individual. That's something that you got to look at for this team. Especially the past weekend at UDEL, there were a couple tough teams there, a couple D1 teams, and they're still going out and finishing at the top.
Yeah, what do you think, JP, and the thoughts from UDEL?
Well, my first thing is they must be doing something good if we're talking about them here. It's not really a sport we tend to talk about, but their times looking at it are insane. Did you mention a couple people, Moser, Rakowski? these are some really good times. We got to start paying a little more attention about it. So nice to bring them up.
Yeah, Jake Simon also finished third for the Pirates last weekend. 4 girls in the top 5 at UDEL. So we'll just head over a quick preview of the Metro Championships. Very familiar, but also very difficult Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx. Kevin, what do each group need to do in order to come out with a strong performance again?
Well, I think they got to keep doing the same thing they've been doing. They came into the season with the mentality, we got to go out and we want to be up there, challenging the teams like St. John's, challenging the other teams in the Big East, because they're kind of looked at as the low man on the totem pole in the Big East. So I think for this, it's got to be the exact same thing. Take that mindset, say, you know what, we may be a smaller team over the last couple of years. We may not be as great as these other teams in the Big East, but we can still go out and compete.
Yeah, JP, Simon and Moser have been great for the men. Christiana Rokowski, almost unstoppable for the women. An injury, earlier in her career has really helped a great recovery for her so far this year. What are you expecting out of this team this weekend?
I honestly will have to agree with Kevin here 100%. They have a bit of a chip on their shoulder this year, and everyone looks at them like they're not all that good at Seton Hall cross country. Meh. But they've come out, they've shut them, they shut people up, so if they keep it up, they'll keep shutting people up.
And we'll see what they have to offer this weekend. Now I'll be heading over now to men's and women's basketball. Big East Media Day is next week, next Wednesday, October 18th, and we want to start the preview a little bit early here. So we're going to do some hot takes for both the men's and women's basketball team. We're going to start with Kevin and women's basketball. Kevin, take it away.
Well, I think when you look at the way this women's basketball team has played over the past couple of years, they were great 2 and 3 years ago. Last year, a little bit of a fall off maybe in the talent, but they do have a lot coming in. They have India Butina, who's coming in as a transfer, and Nicole Jimenez, another JUCO transfer. A lot of transfers from this team have stacked it up for Coach Tony Bozzella. We'll see what he can do with it. Of course, you also have a very talented freshman class coming in for head coach Tony Bozzella. He seems to know his way around the basketball court and knows how to make sure that his players are well prepared and make sure that they're especially ready to go when it comes time for Big East Conference play that starts at the end of December, beginning of January. So we'll see what he can do. I think they finish in the top 4, though, in the Big East.
Bozzella has taken 2 Seton Hall squads to the NCAA tournament in his tenure at Seton Hall. Bit of a drop-off last year, but certainly bringing in a great recruiting class this season. Top 4, is something that this team should definitely shoot for. Of course, winning the Big East is something they should always shoot for, but we'll see what they can do so far this season. JP, we have men's basketball now. The floor is yours.
All right, so originally I was going to be a negative person, but I say I'm going to do that to my little negative prediction. I say this team's going to the Final Four, everybody. Mark it down, guarantee it. What's going to happen is now, the team, this is the best team we've had since 1993, so expect them to do well, get a good seed, and advance in the tournament. And I'm telling you now, Final Four, writing it down right now.
JP, I'm going to take a mental note of that, and I'm going to write that down actually when I get home. And depending on how they do, we're going to see where this prediction lines up in the next couple months. Certainly a very spicy take. I'm going to see what this team is capable of. I think they're certainly capable of it. Let's just hope they can get it going. That's all we have for Hall Talk tonight, guys. Thank you for tuning in. For Kevin Huebler, for JP Proulx, I'm Matt Lamb saying so long. We'll see you next week.